Hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a great day today. I'm coming at you live from the Midwest with all the traffic outside, so I hope you can't hear too much of the background noise. But anyway, I wanted to jump into my art journal today, and also I did a little bit of something different with editing, so let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, but I hope you enjoy it. But I jumped in with just some mark making with my paint pen. There's just layers galore on this. And I had paints and markers and pens, and I think I used a pencil. And I really enjoyed trying new things because you just never know what'll work and what won't work. And it's also nice to be able to see when you do something that it's always fixable. There was a couple things that happened during the journal making that, I decided I didn't really like, but I also kind of show how I fixed it, and I really liked the final piece. So I hope that you stick around with me while we go through this together. But I like starting with a pre-painted background. It just makes the page a little bit thicker. I work in a sketchbook, so the pages aren't all that thick. It's not any special kind of watercolor paper or anything like that. So what I like to do is take craft paint and just paint the background. And it's also nice because you don't have that blank white page kind of staring at you. So I don't always have the same color scheme, but sometimes it just gives me that little bit of inspiration when I'm getting started. And like even you see here, I'm covering most of it up with my other paint. Now blue is a complementary color, so that kind of works, and I end up bringing some orange back in at the end, so I didn't end up getting rid of it entirely. And then I'm going in with a piece of paper to mop up some excess. So I was working on this and I really wanted to just keep trucking along. So I ended up just sort of blotting some excess on my paper so that I could maybe even use that in another project. Actually, the collage that I'm doing is from something else like that I did. I was doing some acrylic painting and I used that paper to kind of mop up that too. So it adds some really neat texture and different colors to a page, and I really enjoy just saving my papers and using them in different things. So I didn't even wait for the paint to dry here. It's just kind of damp still, and I'm using my glue stick to put down some pieces. And the acrylic paint, because of what it is, it also kind of acts like a glue anyway. So it really just kind of makes it more secure, and I just kind of kept going. I really love the experimentation that you can do in an art journal, and I tend to work more in acrylics in art journals. I'm not really sure why. I guess part of it is because I don't really do a lot of watercolor on non-watercolor paper, but I have thought of doing some watercolor maybe over acrylic or something like that, just to try it out as an extra sort of transparent color layer. I didn't do it here, but I did work with some gel sticks, which are water soluble and not the same as watercolor, but a little bit similar. So they've been kind of fun to work with. I wasn't really sure what I thought of them when I first bought them, but they've been growing on me for sure. So I put my white down. I'm kind of adding some more blue in there just because I want to have more of the blue color in the background. And then I'm going to be going in with those gel sticks. And I got these at Walmart for a few dollars. They're really inexpensive. They're pretty pigmented. I have actually never used gelatos, so I have no idea how they compare. I imagine gelatos are probably much nicer, but for what I'm using them for, they work great. I don't have any complaints. And I went in with some red and now with some blue. And with the red, I kind of just made some sort of scribbly leaves in the background. And the blue, I'm just scribbling that to add some of that color in a few different areas on the page. And it's slightly different than that turquoise paint that I used. And then lastly, I'm going in with the yellow just to brighten it up a little bit. And it's so fun just to scribble. It really is. And not care. And you can always paint over or color over or whatever. But that's one of the nice things about working in an art journal. And, you know, even that big red blob right there can definitely do something with that later on and tone that down a little bit. I guess it goes to show that King Art's pretty pigmented though, because boy, it just sort of went everywhere once I hit it with the water. And I'm working with a really damp brush. It's not soaking wet. I'm blotting it pretty well, except that last stroke there. And I even like when I'm going over it with the water, I'll blot as I go too, just to kind of wipe off extra pigment. It is pretty strong when you're going over it. So, I mean, they're not bad. Now I'm just kind of diluting a little bit of that yellow and making that spread out on the page a little bit. I love the transparency of these, but they're also, they pop out from the page too. So you get a little bit of both. And lastly, I'm going in with the black King Art gel stick, and I'm putting in my favorite dots and circles. And by lastly, I mean lastly just for this very moment, because there's a lot more to come. And it's interesting what shows up on camera, because in person you can really see all the layers, and I try to get a close-up of everything at the end so that you can see. But even that collage paper, which was really old paint scrap paper, you can see the marks on that through the layers, especially since I'm working with craft paint, which is not quite as opaque and cover up as the other types of acrylic paint. It's just got a little bit of a thinner consistency, but I also really like it with journaling because it dries fast and you can just keep working. And here's my first thing, well, really my second thing that I'm covering up. I covered up some of that red, and now I'm covering up a little bit of that black. I started to blend it in thinking, oh, that might be interesting, but really I liked just having the lighter colors on there, so I covered that a bit with the gesso too. And I'm going in with my pencil and sketching out just some sort of doodly florals, and I'm going to go over that with my marker. And so I really had like 3 takeaways from this journaling experience. One is I end up painting in my shapes, which I wasn't really sure that I was going to yet, which is one reason why I went right in with the paint marker. But since I did end up painting them in, it ended up kind of covering up some of that black, and I didn't really like how that looked. I like having those crisp lines, so I had to go back over it with my marker later, which isn't a big deal, but I definitely will remember that for next time. And then the sort of smeary colors, but it just goes to show anything is fixable. It's not even that, you're making mistakes or anything like that. It's just sometimes what you're putting down on the paper isn't what you prefer. And that's okay. And there's always ways to change it or cover it over or put something else on it. That's the beauty of art. It's never a lost cause. You just put another layer on and you'll get there. And I love just keeping things simple. Simple shapes, simple layers, and just really kind of going nuts with the mark making. And it's a great way to experiment with supplies too. So I'm just finishing up. I ended up doing 2 flowers and a couple of little leaf sprigs. And if you ask me what kind of flower, I have no idea. I can't tell you. It just came from my imagination. Although I guess I could say the one on the left is a little bit like a sunflower, which is beautiful. I love sunflowers so much. And I actually planted some in the garden last year and they got so high. And it was really neat looking out the window. And I've got, birds landing on them and stuff. I don't know if any of you might have a garden, but it's pretty cool. And I do love gardens. They don't tend to love me that much, so when I can grow something like a sunflower, I get really excited about it. I'm going to have to plant some more next year. But I think it's always the weeds that get me. I don't know about you, but oh my gosh, I plant vegetables and I grow so many weeds, but the vegetables, they just kind of look sad. Except maybe zucchini. I always have a bumper crop of zucchini. More than we could ever eat at our house, and other people I know grow it too, so I can't even give it away. So you end up freezing it or something. But there's always like a lot of zucchini bread, zucchini, stir-fried vegetables, and but I do love it. It's just hard to eat because there's so much that comes on those plants. It's incredible. So I mixed that crimson and yellow, and I'm using it for my flower petals. It's kind of like this peachy color with the white added, and I really liked that. And then when I go in to do my the center of my flower, I'm just kind of mixing what's left over on my page. So I mixed some of that pinky peachy mixture with some white and added a little bit of green, which kind of neutralizes it. It's almost like, I don't know, just this really light, pretty neutral color. And I really enjoyed that. And so you can see here, like when you're painting, it's just so easy to go over those marker lines. So I do end up fixing that and going over them. But first I'm going to go in with my orange gel stick. And the reason why is I had a lot of blue and I brought in some orange with the flowers and stuff, but I really liked that bright orange that was in the page background, and some of it kind of pops through in some areas, but I wanted to be a little bit more purposeful with that, and I liked using the gel stick for it because it is so transparent. So once I kind of get some marks on there, I can go back in with my damp brush and kind of make this neat little orange sort of shadow, but not really a shadow, it's just kind of a background. And I really liked how that ended up looking because you can still see the blue and everything else, but I like adding that pop of orange. That was nice. I'm just trying to avoid those black dots because I don't want to also kind of mix those into everything. I want to keep the orange as clean as I can. And here I am with the black marker again, and it really helps it. One kind of interesting thing that I found is when I was painting inside my black shapes the first time, and because that paint pen is actually opaque, or not opaque, it's waterproof when it dries. But because it wasn't completely dry when I started painting in it, it actually was kind of blending a bit with the paint, and I kind of liked that. I might play around with that in another project or something and just see where that goes, because it had this kind of a neat look, and it's hard to show on the screen here, but I kind of liked that. And now I'm going in with my favorite dots. I grabbed the Lottie Dottie chalk marker, and I got that from Hobby Lobby a while back. It's okay. It actually worked a lot better than I expected this time. I did the video with the sort of deep dive into different paint markers and paint pens and metallic markers, and when I was testing it for that, it didn't really seem to have great coverage, but I was pleasantly surprised this time. It's kind of weird. I don't know if it's just the way I was using it or what. But I'm finishing up. These white marks are pretty much the last of it, and then I'm going to do a close-up so you can see hopefully some of that texture and layers. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please leave me a comment if you liked this format, a little bit faster moving but still including everything. And until next time, keep creating.